Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Sethum and welcome back to another video. I'm once again in Ark, and this time around, as the video title suggests, I'm going to be showing you where to find the dung beetles. Yes, now you can find dung beetles here on the Ark Genesis 2 DLC, and I'm going to show you those locations. So the very first thing that we need to do, of course, is know what you need to tame a dung beetle. So for that, of course, we will need quite a few things, and I'm just going to show you. I've got some cryopods as well. So this is my location right now. Now I'm here because there is a dung beetle below me, but you will need feces, preferably large animal feces, because you do tame them quicker and it does act as kibble. Now this is a passive tame, so you want to put it in your 0 slot. Of course, I've got my GPS here to show you the coordinates. This is where I am right now. So right below me we have some dung beetles, and you kind of generally want to look around the river edges or the edges of the river, because that's where they tend to spawn. The other thing we will need is a crossbow with grappling hooks, and of course they do spawn down there. So that means there's going to be a lot of dangerous things. So we want to pull the dung beetle to safety, and of course you press R on the keyboard to activate your visor. This will allow us to spot them a lot quicker. As I said, we have some dangers to deal with, but that's fine. Eventually, there we go. Now let's have a look for our dung beetle. You can see it right there. That is our target. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get your crossbow out. Make sure you have the grappling hook attachment set up and ready to go. You want to grapple onto it and then fly it to safety. Now bear in mind, when you do land on the floor, you will most likely aggro everything. If there are dangerous creatures on the floor, on the ground there, you want to try and kite them away. So I'm going to use this platform here because it's closest to me. Ideally, you want to try and keep it grappled, because you can use the grapple as a leash to control where the dung beetle will be. So as you can see right there, the dung beetle is not aggroed onto me. Of course, left click to reel it in, right click to reel out. So it's time to feed our dung beetle. Now, if you do worry, for example, in my case, the grappling hook did break, we can grapple it again, and notice that it did not affect the taming effectiveness. So this is quite important, and it's definitely going to be a useful tool. So as you can see, ooh, you can pull it back if you want. Just make sure you don't hit the beetle, or you dodge the beetle when you do that. So I'm just going to loosen up the distance here, because we don't want the dung beetle to hit us. Alright, so I think this should be the last feed, so I'm just pulling it in. There we go, and it's now tamed, and we have our very first dung beetle. Now, of course, these guys are absolutely amazing for providing us with the much needed fertilizer, as well as with some oil. So if you have a bunch of these in your base, you will not suffer for oil whatsoever. So yay, for me, time to go and put this guy in my base, and I'll show you some more locations. Now, this is where we have some more dung beetles. As you can see, these guys are in a pair of 2 down there. There's a lot of bad things, and of course the visor are highlighting all the bad things, or is highlighting all the bad things. My English is broken. So as I said, you want to stick around the rivers and waters, particularly around the river edges. This is where I seem to find most of them, but of course at a bit of a price, seeing as everything is quite dangerous. And you just heard the music there. Alright, yeah, we have another dung beetle, and that one right there. So yeah, you want to try and pull these guys to safety. I showed you how to do it. It's quite easy, and the grapples do make a big difference with regards to taming them. And what's nice is that they do tend to last a while. Creatures don't really tend to aggro them. So here are the locations for this. So we've got GPS coordinates and map location. Alright, so these guys kind of got in the middle of a fight, but there are a total of 3 dung beetles right there. You could grapple one of these, pull it to safety, and of course tame it like I showed you. So I'm going to show you map location and of course the GPS coordinates for this particular spawn point. Now it is quite random as to where they spawn, but you get the idea of where to look. And here we are with another location. These are just some of them, but ideally you want to look on the southern part of the Rockwell garden. It's where they seem to spawn the most. They will also spawn on the northern part, but there's more of them on the southern part. Now, once you have your dung beetles, what you can do is you can put down some of these wooden cages. You will have to have them on wandering for them to produce the oil and the fertilizer. So that is quite important, and of course they are good escape artists. They do tend to get out of much of anything, with the exception of these cages. These are the most effective way of actually having the dung beetle. So I'm just going to place a few of these down and I'll show you the next step in a bit. So I am going to uncryopod the dung beetles that I found and wanted to tame, for example. And there's another one right here that I dropped, so I'll go and pick this guy up. You can pick them up as you would a dodo, so we'll just E to interact to pick it up. We're going to go with it to the cage, and then we are going to chuck it in the cage. So we'll open up the door, chuck it in there with E. Then we want to go into behavior, enable wandering for it to produce the much needed resources, and that would be of course oil and the fertilizer. But for that we of course need to put in the poop. It does not matter what kind of poop you put in. Basically just save all your dino poop and chuck it in the dung beetles inventory. It is important to note that this is not food for them, so you will need to have a feeding trough near them. They do prefer spoiled meat as food, so that's quite important to know. And after about 15 minutes, it will turn one feces into oil and some of the fertilizer. Now, the fertilizer is good for your crop plots, and of course, this will allow you to have your little farm with absolutely everything that you need. So, definitely one of the most important creatures here on Genesis 2. Definitely worth picking these up. They will make your life that much more easier. With that being said and done, that is pretty much it for this video, folks. I do hope that you have found it useful and informative. If you have, please don't forget to support me in the channel by hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already for more similar content from myself. And if you have just subscribed, why not check out some of my other videos and guides here on this channel? Who knows, you might just enjoy them. And of course, for those interested, you can always find me on the Sethtopia Discord. Links, of course, you can find down below in the video's description. And until next time, stay safe, folks.